Talking about Shreveport. Welcome to my town. Talking about Shreveport. What a treasure you just found. Her children come from every culture. Her hearts have all been bound. With love for Shreveport, you're gonna want to stick around.
Citizens of Shreveport, tonight I am proud to present to you my annual State of the City message. Let me begin tonight not with numbers, not with charts, not with policy language, but with a question, an ancient question. The prophet Ezekiel tells of standing in a valley filled with very dry bones. And the Lord asked him, "Son of man, can these bones live?" Ezekiel answered wisely, "O Lord God, you know." 3 years ago, when I took office, I reflected on that same passage. I said that the bones of Shreveport were its infrastructure, physical and human, our streets, our water system, our police and fire departments, our neighborhoods, our small businesses, our families. And I said that we could use some breath. So tonight, as I reflect on the state of our city, I return to that same question. Can these bones live? From Cross Lake to Wallace Lake, from Cedar Grove to Southern Trace, from Moortown to Providence, from Highland to Lakeside, from Allendale to Broadmoor, from Ingleside to Western Hills. Can these bones live? Tonight, I stand before you and say, yes. Shreveport's bones are coming together. Tendons and ligaments are tying them together. The sinews are forming, connecting the bones to allow forward movement. And we are beginning to feel new breath in our bones. Let us begin with public safety, because without safety, there is no revival. In 2025, violent crime declined again from an already reduced level in 2024. Homicides fell from 52 in 2024 to 42 in 2025. That is a multi-year low. Now let me say clearly, one homicide is too many. Every life matters. Every family matters. But 10 fewer homicides means 10 fewer families sitting around a kitchen table with an empty chair. 10 fewer mothers grieving. 10 fewer communities shaken. The West Shreveport Police Substation opened its doors last summer. We just moved into the North Market Street substation, and construction is proceeding on the substation in Southeast Shreveport. And this month, construction will begin on a new police headquarters at 1234 Texas Avenue, breathing new life into the dry bones of that historic building. The Shreveport Police Department graduated 2 academy classes, welcoming 20 new officers. In addition, the department recruited 3 officers from other agencies. One of SPD's sergeants was selected for the FBI National Academy, the first Shreveport officer in more than a decade to receive that honor. On top of that, we strengthened enforcement against squatters. With a clearer ordinance and better tools, SPD made 186 squatter arrests in 2025. That means safer neighborhoods. That means restored order. The fire department added 12 new fire engines. Fire stations 1, 2, 13, 14, 16, and 22 have been renovated or completed. We promised advances in public safety. We've kept our promise. From Martin Luther King Drive to Uri Drive, from Greenwood Road to East Kings Highway, from North Market to Burt Coons. Public safety is the foundation on which everything else rests. The bones are reconnecting. In Ezekiel's vision, after the bones come together, sinews and flesh formed. Infrastructure is our system of sinews. In 2025, we completed refurbishment of the first elevated water storage tank. The second will be completed before summer of this year. The third will begin later this year and be completed in 2027. We are actively seeking a site for a 4th elevated tank in Southeast Shreveport to improve water pressure and reliability in that growing area. These improvements are not glamorous. They don't make headlines, but they matter in Cedar Grove. They matter in Moortown. They matter in Broadmoor. They matter in St. Charles Place. They matter in Southern Trace. We have just finished a serious episode with our water system that demonstrates the need for additional investment in that infrastructure. A 42-inch main transmission water line broke, sending water pressure plummeting in most of the city. Amazingly, our water system staff was able to stabilize pressure within 48 hours, and they were able to repair the problem shortly after that. In addition, the 2024 bond issue included $82 million in projects to fortify the water and sewer system, and 3 projects directly affect the Amos Water Treatment Plant. They will begin construction this year, helping to avoid the problem we had earlier this month or make it even easier to bring the system back to normal. Better pressure, better reliability, better compliance with state health standards. That is what it looks like when sinew forms on the bones and flesh. Our infrastructure is stronger so that our community can move forward. We also know that trust is built not just through results, but through visibility. That is why we've launched a public dashboard for bond projects, so you can see what is planned, what is underway, what is completed. These bond projects are not just abstract line items in a budget. They are safer streets. They are improved drainage. They are stronger neighborhoods. As these projects move from planning to construction, from construction to completion, you will see the evidence of your investment in the future of your city. That visibility will build confidence. Confidence will build momentum. Now let's talk about neighborhood revitalization. In 2025, Property Standards demolished 225 structures with a budget more than 3 times the demolition budget for 2022, the year before I became mayor. But demolition alone does not rebuild a city. That is why phase 1 of the Block by Block initiative was different. We conducted 11 sweeps over 13 summer weekends. We removed 3,035 tires. We removed 1.78 million pounds of trash. More than 300 volunteers joined us, coordinated by Shreveport Green. But even more important than the trash removed were the conversations we held. We stood together, department heads, police, fire, public works, property standards, council members, myself and my staff. We walked neighborhoods. We stood on porches. We listened to residents. We asked what was working and what was not. Block by Block Phase 2 will focus on redevelopment pilot projects in Moortown and Highland. Not just cleaning up, but building back. Because demolition clears the ground. Redevelopment restores hope. And hope brings new breath. Building and even rebuilding are not enough. Revival means investment in people, especially children. Safe streets are important, but safe futures are essential. We have worked through SPAR with schools, nonprofits, Caddo Parish, and other community partners to expand opportunities for recreation, mentorship, and learning for young and mature. We are investing in people, in relationships, coaches, mentors, volunteers, neighbors. When a young person finds purpose, a neighborhood finds hope. Economic vitality is breath for the bones. As of November 2025, unemployment in Shreveport stood at 4.4%. That is a strong labor market, but it is getting even better. SLB doubled employment. Amazon exceeded its target. Prolec GE added a production line. In North Shreveport, we are planning a retail strategy in a corridor that already generates $2 billion annually, including $500 million from outside the region. More options for residents, more dollars staying local, a stronger tax base for the entire city. We have streamlined processes. We moved liquor licensing fully online, saving hundreds of hours of police paperwork each year. We simplified vendor registration so local small businesses can more easily compete for city contracts. We launched a one-stop economic development portal so businesses can have a clear path from idea to opening. Fewer hurdles, more opportunity, more local dollars staying local. Just 2 weeks ago, we announced a $12 billion investment in 3 data centers, one of which will be in West Shreveport. Amazon Web Services will operate the centers. That means over 1,000 construction jobs. Eventually, the center will bring 450 to 600 new permanent, high-paying jobs. The developer will pay for all necessary water, sewer, and power infrastructure for the data centers. When complete, the Shreveport Center will generate millions of dollars of water and sewer revenue, helping keep your rates lower than they would be without the center. That is more breath entering the body. Downtown, G-Unit Film and Television is prepared to invest tens of millions of dollars in former Millennium Studios and Stageworks. Lights, camera, action. Not just filming, but all facets of production. Pre-production and post-production work will also occur on the renovated sites right here in our community. The new permanent dome will rise downtown, an attraction in itself, a new gathering place, an exciting new venue. Energy is returning to our urban core, from Texas Street to the Red River. More breath for the body. Financially, we remain disciplined. 2025 was challenging, but because of cooperation between the administration and the City Council, we ended the year with an estimated $29 million operating reserve. The 2026 budget maintains an 8% operating reserve, a commitment we made to bond rating agencies and financial advisors. That has already resulted in improved outlook, from negative to stable from Standard & Poor's. We refinanced $168 million in utility revenue bonds and secured bond insurance for the transaction, resulting in $11 million in savings for ratepayers like you over the life of those bonds. That is discipline. That is stewardship. That is keeping our word. The bones are not only reconnecting, they are standing. But let me be clear, the work is not finished. The fight for neighborhood revitalization and reinvestment continues. In addition to the work of Block by Block, I am serving on a Louisiana Senate task force on blight to recommend statewide reforms that will help cities address blight more effectively. The sewer consent decree remains a major challenge. The city has already spent more than $600 million on compliance, double the original estimate. We are negotiating with the Department of Justice and the EPA to adjust timelines and plans. We must reach agreement on this consent decree this year. Our goal is simple: protect public health while reducing unnecessary pressure on you, the ratepayers. The Shreveport Police Department will expand real-time crime center cameras beyond 2,500 camera feeds this year. 60 new patrol vehicles will be added this year. Recruitment and retention of our police officers remain our top priorities. By mid-year, more than 20 projects funded by the 2024 bond issue should be under construction. We have launched a public dashboard so citizens can follow progress. Transparency builds trust. Momentum continues to build. Before I close, I want to pause and express gratitude to the City Council for its cooperation and willingness to work through challenges, to city employees who serve with dedication, often unseen and unappreciated, to community leaders, nonprofits, faith communities, and volunteers, all of whom do the quiet work that helps us keep our neighborhoods strong. And to you, my fellow citizens of Shreveport, for your patience, your ideas, your advocacy, your love for our city. The story of Shreveport's revival is being sung not by one voice, but by many. Your voices. Others are noticing too. Last month, U.S. News & World Report listed Shreveport as 37th on its list of most sought-after cities in a list of 50 cities generating relocation interest in 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, revival is not a spectator sport. It requires all of us. Citizens who speak well of our city, business leaders who invest in our future, neighbors who care for one another, volunteers who show up, leaders who lead by example. But we must work together. The cartoon character Pogo said in 1970, "We have met the enemy and he is us." We have paid a high price for division in this city. Division by race, division by neighborhood, division by income. Bones cannot live, they cannot thrive if they refuse to connect. Shreveport thrives when all its people thrive, when Cedar Grove thrives, when Southern Trace thrives, when Moortown thrives, when Providence thrives, when Highland thrives, when Ingleside thrives, when every neighborhood sees itself not as an island, but as part of one body. Ezekiel prophesied, and breath entered the bodies, and they stood on their feet, an exceedingly great army. I am not asking for an army of division. I am asking for an army of unified renewal, an army of volunteers, an army of small business owners, an army of teachers, an army of police officers and firefighters, an army of citizens who believe in our city. Yes, these bones can live, and together we will stand. The condition of our city is this: we are not a valley of dry bones. We are a city reconnecting, a city strengthening, a city breathing. And if we continue to work together, the best chapters of Shreveport's story are still ahead. Thank you. Now, let's get to work.
Hello, I'm William Bradford, and I'm joined here today with Mayor Tom Arsenault. We just heard his 2026 State of the City, which is a reflection of all the accomplishments and challenges that he faced in 2025. Mayor, thank you for being here today.
It's great to be here.
What are some of the key successes that you'd like to highlight for them moving forward in the future and also from 2025?
Well, I think one of the great things about 2025 was we had a significant reduction in violent crime. Now, we're not all the way there yet, and people are still hearing shots fired. So I want to make sure that people know that we're not stopping, but we have made significant progress. Particularly, we reduced the number of homicides from 52, which was a down number in 24, to 42 in 2025. And that means there were 10 fewer families that had to deal with the death of a loved one.
You know, Mayor, let's talk more about that. Public safety is always at the top of everyone's mind in our community. What were some of the key steps that you took to reach such a good outcome for 2025?
I think we have done a really good job of equipping the police department. We have stabilized our police force. We increased by 5 in 2024, which sounds like a little, but it's actually a lot, because before that we had been decreasing every year. We also have increased the number of cameras. We will shortly have over 2,500 camera feeds in the Real-Time Crime Center. I think what that does is it tells people that if you do something, you're very likely to be on camera. And if you're on camera, we're going to catch you. So this year we'll add a cooperative agreement with the DeSoto Parish Sheriff for a helicopter to work with our police department. We have our own Bearcat now, our armored vehicle that brings that criminal out without danger to him or her and without danger to our police officers.
And our police officers do a wonderful job every day.
They do.
So, wrapping on public safety, I think one of the key issues that our public wants to know more about is how you're addressing and tackling blight. Tell me some of the items that you've undertaken to help address blight across our community.
Well, the first step, and only the first step with blight, is to remove dilapidated structures, because they are places that invite crime. Abandoned structures invite drug dealing and other kinds of nefarious activity, and we need to get rid of as many of those as we can. Blight is really a crime problem, because when you live in a blighted neighborhood, when you live in a neighborhood with a lot of abandoned or dilapidated structures, you don't feel as good about your neighborhood. You're more likely to litter. You're more likely to engage in criminal activity. So it's very, very important that we tackle that. But we also have to look forward. We have to look forward to reinvestment in those neighborhoods to make it attractive from an economic development standpoint and a residential development standpoint. So the goal is to bring more people into the inner city, and we do that through removing dilapidated structures, enforcing our rules with respect to squatters, and then demolishing buildings that need to be demolished.
So beyond public safety, you describe infrastructure as the sinew of our city. And, where do you feel that our neighborhoods are beginning to see that progress? Where do you think are the most transformative projects that were undertaken in 2025?
When we passed the 2024 bond issue, if you looked at the list of 103 projects that were in that proposition number 1, most of those were neighborhood projects. By the middle of this year, we should have 20 projects under construction. We have so many projects under construction that occasionally we don't get any bids on our projects, and we have to go out to bid again. That's been the biggest source of delay. But I think people will they'll see both the progress and the inconvenience of construction. Like I say, there'll be upwards of 20 projects under construction by the middle of the year.
In 2025, you launched the Block by Block initiative, and I think it was one of your most publicly televised campaigns to fight blight, ultimately fight criminal behavior. Tell me more about that Block by Block initiative.
Beginning in the very early part of my administration in 2023, we basically doubled the demolition budget for property standards. And we also increased the litter abatement budget by about $500,000, which we've maintained since then. Then when I had the opportunity to participate in the Bloomberg Harvard City Leadership Initiative, they asked me to choose a single issue that they would help me concentrate on, and I chose blight. And Block by Block came out of that training that I received at no cost to the city. And so the next step, the next phase that our executive team is working on will be 2 pilot programs, one in Highland, one in Moortown, to actually figure out what reinvestment can we make to spur redevelopment in these neighborhoods. And we'll learn from those what works and what doesn't work, so then we can scale it to other neighborhoods in the city.
And I think that's being noticed. There are businesses locating here now. There are growth and announcements happening almost seems like every day. But what are those indicators, and what are really those methods that you're employing to continue those improvements into the next year?
We try and make conservative estimates of revenues so that during any given budget year, we're trying to avoid a shortfall. We appropriate money based on the money we think is going to come in. We pretty well know what our expenses are going to be. They're pretty predictable. Revenues can be a little unpredictable. So we want to make sure that we're being conservative in those revenue estimates. And so what usually happens is we end up with a little more money than we thought we were going to have. And as a result of that, we're being rewarded with a better look and ultimately lower costs to our taxpayers when we actually go out into the bond market.
As you move around the city and you're listening to citizens, you're out there daily. What are some of the concerns that you still hear from our community? What are some of the items of need that are still circulating out there?
The three things that I hear are the three things that are priorities for me: crime, reinvestment in older neighborhoods, and I do hear a lot about water. We have overcome some really significant water issues. We had the discolored water during one summer. We had a late algae bloom that caused some issues. We have put in the equipment to deal with both of those things, and I'm no longer hearing those kinds of complaints. Some lingering, once you think the water tastes bad, it's going to taste bad to you for a while, even when it doesn't taste bad. But we think we have addressed those issues. We are refurbishing our water towers. We are improving the water infrastructure and the sewer infrastructure for the citizens of Shreveport. And there's money in the budget, in the capital budget, for about $82 million in water improvements, and we're making sewer improvements pursuant to the 2014 consent decree.
Well, you've employed that Valley of Dry Bones analogy quite often, and I think it's very apropos. I think it's very timely. And in your State of the City address, you said that we're no longer the Valley of Dry Bones. So looking forward in 2026, what are some of the milestones you'd like to reach before the end of the year?
I want to have those 20 projects that I talked about either almost complete or complete. I would like to have sold the second third of our 2024 bonds so that we can then move that, and making sure that the police have all the tools that they need to make further progress in reducing violent crime.
Well, Mayor, I appreciate your time today. I think that the State of the City address was a great outlook and a great reminder of how far we've come. And so, ladies and gentlemen, if you have not had an opportunity to watch the State of the City, please do so in its entirety. And again, thank you to Mayor Tom Arsenault for your work, for your dedication to the citizens of Shreveport, and for your commitment.
Thank you very much.
We're talking about Shreveport. Welcome to my town. Talking about Shreveport. What a treasure you just found. Her children come from every culture.